Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment question comes from Marcel Phrase, and it's in response to my overview of the Korg Poly 61 video I did in November 2021. The reason I'm smiling is because I've got absolutely slammed for these videos on the Poly 61. And he writes, "Hi, I'm wondering if you keep all the synths you are vlogging about, or do you sell some of them from time to time?" Well, the simple answer is yes, I do sell them from time to time. But remember, not all the synths that appear on the channel are actually mine. Okay, I have some relationships with other collectors, other users, and from time to time they lend me their synths. And I'm thinking specifically about things like this synth down here. I'll bring up and show to camera. This is the Kawai K1R, which is a synth that's been lent to me and I am doing a series of videos on. But at the moment it's down there while I am writing the scripts for said videos. So the answer is yes, I do sell them, but remember, not all the synths are basically mine. Now, basically I normally sell instruments because I acquire them, repair them, play them, video them, and then for whatever reason I can't get on with them. Or they don't give me the sounds I'm after, or I'm not impressed with them. So I've kind of, in the past, I've gone for synthesizers which I think are legendary, or synthesizers I've played in the past. I can remember the reason why I bought the D-70 was because I used to go to a place called Project Music in Hounslow. It doesn't exist anymore, it's long since gone. But I love the D-70. My friend went to buy the D-70 and ended up buying the W-30, and actually probably the W-30 was the better machine. But I still love the D-70, so when I got the opportunity to buy one, I bought the D-70. So I hope when I sell a synthesizer that I break even. Okay, so if I've bought a synthesizer, repaired it, and then decide I'm not going to get on with it, I try to break even. I don't try to make a profit. It's not kind of the way of the world, or it's not kind of my way of the world. I'm more happy to break even and see that synthesizer go to somebody who's going to use it and treasure it, rather than seeing it go to a breaker. And there are lots of people who buy synthesizers out there. That's the whole Synth model, for argument's sake. They buy synthesizers, and if they're too gone, they break them into parts, which is great because then it means that people like me who are actually restoring synthesizers can get stuff, can get those parts for those synthesizers, which are becoming increasingly rare. But hopefully that's answered your question in a roundabout way. Next comment or question comes from Jack and Jill Marley. And this was in response to Roland D-70 Rompler demo, a video I did in April 2021. And Jack and Jill write, the D-70 sounds a bit more superior to the U220 and even has some sounds that are not found in the U series. Plus it includes drums from the Rock Drums card in place of some of the lo-fi drums. The D-70 was also the blueprint for the later Roland JV series engine. Now, the thing about the D-70 is the D-70 is not really a D-series synthesizer. Never has been, never will be. But it was sold as a D-series synthesizer because of what Korg was doing at the time. But you're actually not far off with the statement that you've made. The D70 is far closer to a Rompler than it is to a LA synthesizer. I know it says on the D70 Super LA or something like that, I can't remember now, but it's not. In the prior series of the D series, the synthesis is based on generating the LA synthesis in as part of the process the synthesizer goes through. Basically, the D70 uses PCM samples to generate the bass tones, and then subtractive synthesis is applied to the tone to create the sound. The D5, the D10 and the D20 are less configurable than the D50, but they all use the same LA synthesis generation methodology. I think that's probably the easiest way to put it. Now, the D70, on the other hand, uses a sample with little ability to alter the bass tone. So you can't change the way that the tone is generated. In fact, if you look inside the D70, and I have done videos where I'm inside the D70, and I've pointed out in a couple of those videos that if you look at the board that is in the D70, the giveaway this was never meant to be a D-series synth is the fact that the synth board actually has the name U50 on it. This board was meant to be the next Rompler in the U series, and as I said, because of what Korg was doing with the M1, it was redesignated the D70 to try and stop the M1 stealing the market that had moved towards the D series, the D50 synthesizer in particular. But the M1 came along and it kind of was a game changer, and they saw sales of the D50 start to drop off in favour of the Korg M1 in the professional music circles. And this was what the D50 was designed. Why they threw it to market as a D series synth was they were trying to head off this sales decline in the D series. Problem was, M1 was far more functional than the D70, and it really didn't sell in great numbers. The one thing they did get right with the D70 was the action of the keyboard itself. The keyboard action on the D70 is extremely nice. I've always thought it was extremely nice, I have to be honest. Much better than the keyboard action on the D50, which was rather poor, and also had better MIDI controls, which was another reason why I used the D70 for many, many years as a keyboard controller or as a MIDI controller, with it driving many of my other synths and modules before I ended up getting other keyboards that maybe more suited it, much the same as this T1 that's sitting beside me here, which is a much better, much more functional MIDI controller than the D70. But the D70 was very functional from a MIDI perspective. That thing they did get right, the keyboard they did get right. Even I think, even though it is a Rompler, the sounds on the D70 and the sound libraries you could load onto the D70 were actually very well done. The reproduction of the D70 was great. It just isn't a D-series synthesizer. That's the bottom line.